grab yourself a drink, sit back and let's talk uni. So when I was in first year of uni, I remember walking to my desk, closing my door so I had no distractions, picking out my favourite playlist of wonderful study music, probably titled study music, opening my laptop with all of the enthusiasm in the world, and then realising I didn't have a clue where to start. I have gone through a whole undergrad, so I feel like I'm semi-qualified to tell you what worked for me. Obviously, everyone's different, but I'm going to tell you in detail exactly what worked well for me. I'm going to split this into two parts. So the first part is going to be more term time preparation, how you take notes, how you prepare for assignments, and be successful throughout the length of a term. And then the second video is going to be that peak time when it's exams. Everything falls apart and time is running out. So I feel like there was always two phases to my university time. There was like general term time when you're trying to soak everything up, and then there was exam periods when you're trying to soak up all your tears. I think being an effective student can really boil down to two things. First of all, being able to start and being able to stay focused can be really tricky, and I think everyone struggles with that. The difference between school and uni is that you don't have someone standing over you and walking past your desk and making sure that you're focused. It's all gonna come from within. It's challenging. So the first one, starting and staying focused. The second one, I think, is having the skills to be able to study really effectively. So these tips are gonna be incredibly specific to what worked for me, and let's jump into them. So first things first, at the start of every single term, I would organise. So for example, I'd have a list of 4 modules. I would make a notebook for every one of those modules. I would make a folder for every one of those modules. I would print out my full timetable. And if I had exams or assignments, I would put them in my diary immediately. Like at the second I was given them, I would write down all of these things. And I feel like that kind of opened a chapter in my brain for this term, what this term is gonna entail. And that really helped me jump into a new term and stay focused. The second thing is starting. You want to start your assignment the second that you hear it exists. If you are sitting in your lecture hall or doing online class, as it may be this decade, then as soon as you're told an assignment exists, make the Word document, write the title, and just leave it there. I feel like all of the assignments that I did this, and I started them really early, even if I didn't fill it in and complete the assignment early, it just opens a chapter in your brain and it's so much easier to dial back into that. I feel like if you know you have an assignment and you haven't started, that was always such a burden for me. So just start the assignment, just open a Word document, and that is honestly a huge first hurdle. Just start. Sounds easy, but make it a habit. Just start. This is going to come as an obvious one, but I will give details of exactly how I like to do it. Take notes. Take notes of everything. I found at school it was really easy to take notes. You were told exactly what to write down and you had a textbook that told you exactly what you needed to know. At uni, that is quite a different hurdle. So I didn't quite know what level of notes to take, and that was a real struggle in the beginning. And I kind of settled on taking notes. Oh, the sun is doing funky things. My note-taking level is as if I have just lost all of today's memories. Would I be able to teach myself everything tomorrow? I would never assume I would remember anything because I generally didn't. Even if you hear something and you're like, oh, that seems really obvious. Now that you explain it, means you should definitely write it down. So I would take extensive notes in class. So the actual note-taking, so we would have, say, 10 lectures for one module. These would come as PowerPoint files in advance, I would open the PowerPoint files and have a little skim through if I had time before my lectures. I literally just mean look at the pictures. Even if that's just sitting in class before or online before the lecturer actually starts speaking, I would just have a little glimpse through to know what generally was coming. Then I would open up PowerPoint on one side of my computer and OneNote on the other side. And what I would do is write a full transcript of everything that I can possibly record as it's coming. Maybe not everyone is the fastest typer in the world, but I find typing word for word what the lecturer was saying to be the most helpful thing I could do for note taking. Obviously this doesn't work for everything, but I find this worked perfectly for me. So what I would do is sit in class, my PowerPoint, my OneNote, typing everything at the speed of light, looking up to know, which PowerPoint slide we're on, copying pictures over to my OneNote, and at the same time voice recording the lecture. So I would walk out of class renaming my voice recording. I would get home with my really messy OneNote sheet. It would be full of typos that I did not correct at all. There was no going back, it was just speed typing. After every single lecture, I would listen to the voice recording either on 1x speed or on half speed, and I would type up, make all of my spelling corrections, and make a full transcript of each lecture. But for me, honestly, it was incredibly worth it. If I had a 1-hour lecture, I would probably spend 2 hours tidying things up afterwards. Cannot recommend OneNote enough. It worked for me beautifully to organise things. I could probably do a whole video on how I organise my notes on OneNote. Similar to Word, but you organise it as if it's a notebook with all the little tabs you can flick in and out of. So if anyone is interested in how I set up my OneNote notebook, let me know and I can definitely do a video on that. But anyway, conclusion, OneNote was an absolute saviour for me. So if you're really struggling with the lecture content, I would watch YouTube videos. So I found Khan Academy and other YouTube learning channels to be so incredibly helpful. Just to have a person explain the same concept in a different way, sometimes we just let it click. I find that personally easier than going to the library. I would never muster the enthusiasm to go to the library and read before a lecture. I found YouTube videos the easiest way to consume new learning that wasn't saying in a lecture. It'll at least be a start. So that was pretty extensive what I would do in the term time for every single lecture, and I would thank myself, future me would thank myself for this when I was coming into exam preparation. Voice recording, I cannot recommend enough. I didn't do this until maybe 3rd year, and oh my god, it changed my life. I just can't type that much. So voice recording for me was not a way to kick back and relax, but a way for me to realistically get all of the information that's coming at me, because I couldn't do it without voice recordings, to be honest. So I always had to revisit the material, and voice recording it myself was the only way that I could do it. I don't know, maybe your university is kinder to you than mine was to me. Okay, so that was the process of actually having lectures. The other thing I really enjoyed was planning group study sessions just to chat about material. So I had a good group of study friends and we would enjoy booking time to watch TV together and planning a study session around that beforehand. Planning my own study groups. I think the unis do try and do these, but no one ever really cares for them when they're like, right, now discuss this material in a workshop. No one has anything to say. Find a good group of study friends and just talk about all of the material out loud. I feel like discussing lecture content is the best way to actually understand lecture content. I feel like my uni grades were 100 times improved by having really good study friends. Find yourself some good study friends, choose a topic, discuss it, and then reward yourself with some TV or a movie or food or something. So one thing I noticed with having study groups was that some people really need music to bring them into their own brain, calm them, take them into the zone. If that's you, then wonderful. But I cannot work with study music on, no matter what the playlist is called. No matter how calming or classical it is, if there is music or noise playing at me, all I can do is dance, sing along. I'm so easily distracted by music. So in the beginning, I was like, oh, I need study music. Everyone else has study music. And I just kept listening to things and not studying. And I realised I cannot work with study music. That's just how I function. So I stopped trying to torture myself into listening to study music. It just doesn't work for me. Know what works for you, know what doesn't. However, I do find earphones are a great way to signal that you don't want to be interrupted. So if I was ever in the library, I would bring earphones and I would be listening to absolutely nothing. And it would just be a way to tell the world that I wasn't available. I found it to be useful. But if you know that you can't study while listening to music, or even some people would try and study while watching Netflix. I was always really dubious of that, but if that's what works for you, grand. Just know that it's okay to be completely the opposite of all of your friends. Know what works for you. Try and force yourself to every single optional class. I would do this to myself by way of trickery. I would write down all the optional classes as compulsory classes to myself. And I found that to be quite useful. Even if it was just a question and answer session and I had nothing to ask, because I'd written down that it was compulsory, I would just come up with things and just chat through the material with lecturers. I feel like if they're opening up the time to discuss things with you, it's not because they want to have a laugh, it's because they probably think the material is challenging enough to do that. I have quite a bad memory for my agenda, so if I wrote something down as compulsory when it wasn't, I would just go anyway. Imposter syndrome is real. They didn't let you into uni by accident. They didn't let you into uni as some sick joke to laugh at how much you're struggling. The uni admissions let you into uni because they think you're capable, they know you have the prerequisites, and you statistically will be able to pass. You got into the course, you're good enough to be on the course. Don't compare yourself to your friends. And the last thing is, remember that you are absolutely trying your best. Even if you're telling yourself you're not trying your best, you're trying your best based on how homesick you are, how bad you are at cooking your own food, how tired you feel today. You make every decision that you make with the absolute best of intentions, so you are doing the absolute best that you possibly can be, factoring in everything that's happening. Factoring in your mental health, your physical health, your really annoying distracting flatmates, all of these things, you're doing the best you can despite and thanks to, so just be kind to yourself. So that's it for part 1, how to drag yourself through term time, get your assignments in on time, not compare yourself to other people, making all of the wonderful notes. And if you want to click on part 2 up here, that will be how to drag yourself through exam season. So I'm Emma. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!